My dear sisters, I invite you to open your heart and listen not just with your ears, but with your spirit. There are moments in our lives when someone who once withdrew suddenly reappears. Often, it's a man who once held our attention, our hopes, maybe even our love. But now, after silence he reaches out. How do we respond? Let's walk through this together. Not emotionally, but with discernment, with wisdom, with strength, and above all, with peace. When someone reaches out after a long silence, our first impulse is often immediate. The heart jumps, the mind races, questions swirl in our chest like a storm. Why now? What does he want? Should I respond? And without pause, many of us react. We respond out of longing, out of loneliness, out of the ache of unresolved emotion. But I want to invite you into something higher, not reaction, but response. There's a different, profound one. Reaction is impulsive. It's emotional. It rises from a place within us that still craves closure, still craves answers. It's the voice of our wounds speaking first. And it often leads us down a familiar road, the one that circles back to confusion, disappointment, emotional imbalance. We react because it gives us a false sense of control. We think, if I answer right away, maybe I can steer this. Maybe this time it will be different. But hear this, no good decision was ever born in haste, and no restoration was ever built on desperation. Response, on the other hand, is something sacred. It is slow. It is thoughtful. It comes from a heart that has been disciplined by truth and not ruled by emotion. To respond is to align yourself not with the ache of your flesh, but with the wisdom of your spirit. You are not ignoring your feelings. You are instructing them. You are not denying your hope. You are occurring it in truth. And truth will always protect you from unnecessary pain. When he reaches out after silence, the first thing you must do is pause. Literally, take your hands off the phone. Do not type. Do not scroll. Do not analyze his message over and over until you've crafted a perfect reply. Instead, sit. Pray. Inquire within. What are you feeling? Is it hope? Is it anxiety? Is it anger wrapped in curiosity? Bring those feelings before God. Lay them down like an offering and say, I don't want to respond from here. I want to respond from wisdom. Understand this silence is not neutral. When someone disappears, they are choosing absence, and absence is a form of communication. It says, you were not a priority then. So when they reach out now, the question is not, should I answer? The question is, what has changed to make this moment different? If nothing has changed, then their message is just noise, not a call to action. Choosing to respond means you recognize your power. You are not desperate for connection. You are not waiting to be chosen. You are already chosen by God, by purpose, by a life that is bigger than someone else's indecision. You are not reacting to a man's return. You are responding from the seat of your worth. That is strength. That is maturity. That is wisdom. Sometimes the most powerful response is silence. Sometimes it is a calm, thank you. Other times it may be an open door, but one guarded by discernment and clarity. The key is this: let your emotions pass through the filter of your spirit. Because when you don't react, you give yourself room to hear the truth. And when you hear the truth, your answer will not just protect your heart, it will elevate it. So the next time that familiar name lights up your screen, take a moment. Don't move too fast. Don't let your feelings lead you into a place you had already grown beyond. Remember who you are. Remember how far you've come. And then respond if you must, not from fear, not from lack, but from wholeness. Let your stillness be your strength. Let your pause your power. And let your response be rooted in peace. Is a 600-word expansion of Keynotes 1 and 2. Don't react. Respond. And ask yourself what has changed. Written in a tone that reflects calm spiritual authority, emotional clarity, and gentle strength, in the style you requested. When he reaches out after silence, something within you will stir. It may be subtle or sudden, but there's a stirring. Whether the silence lasted weeks or months, it left an imprint. And now, with the vibration of a message or a familiar voice, your heart wants to move. It wants to answer. It wants to return to the place where things felt open, unfinished, maybe even hopeful. But that stirring must not lead you into impulse. It must lead you into wisdom. You are not obligated to respond immediately. You are not required to offer your presence to someone who once treated your absence as acceptable. The very first step is stillness. This is not about punishment. It is about posture. The difference between reacting and responding is the difference between instability and maturity. A reaction is quick and often rooted in emotion. What does this mean? What should I say? Maybe he's realized something. But a response is deliberate. It comes after you've searched your heart, consulted your peace, and remembered your value. And here's the truth. Someone's return does not automatically qualify them for access. That's where discernment begins. You must pause and ask what has changed, not just in him, but in you. Has there been growth? Has there been clarity? Is this return a reflection of revelation or a reach born out of convenience and comfort? Silence is never meaningless. When someone chooses distance, they are making a statement, even if they never speak a word. Their silence spoke once. Their return is speaking now. But the question is, what is it saying? You must take that question seriously, because too often we welcome people back based on emotion, not evaluation. We let the history between us overshadow the honesty required now. But wisdom asks you to look again. Is he showing fruit? Has there been accountability? Or does he simply miss the version of you who tolerated less than you deserved? If he disappeared when things got difficult, or when you asked for clarity, or when commitment was required, has that pattern shifted? Because a new message with an old mindset is not progress, it's repetition. Asking what has changed protects your peace. It keeps you from repeating old wounds under the illusion of new beginnings. It doesn't mean you're hard-hearted. It means you're clear-headed. You're no longer entertaining words without evidence, intentions without action, presence without purpose. A changed man will not only reach out, he will also show up. With consistency, with clarity, with humility. If none of those are visible, then the message is noise, not a moment of divine restoration. You also need to consider what has changed in you. Sometimes, we are not the same woman who once waited for that message. We have healed, grown, we have rebuilt. And while part of us may still remember the softness we once offered him, our wisdom now holds a stronger voice. That voice says, I do not go backward. If I open the door, it will be because the house has changed. Not because I missed the past. So ask carefully, without desperation, what has changed? What does this man's return require of you? And is it worth it? Does it align with your values, your direction, your peace? You must measure these things not by emotion, but by discernment. There's no reward in responding to a message if it leads you away from your purpose. And if you don't know the answer immediately, wait. Silence is not weakness. It is wisdom. It gives space for clarity to emerge, because you deserve to know, before you take a single step forward, that something real has changed, and that it's not just another cycle disguised as a second chance. Certainly. Below is a 600-word expansion of keynotes 1, 2, don't 3 react. Respond. Ask yourself what has changed, and guard your heart above all else. Written as a single, seamless reflection without headings, in a spiritually grounded and emotionally intelligent tone inspired by Derek Prince's teaching style. When he reaches out after silence, there is a quiet tension that arises within you. It can feel like the reopening of a chapter you thought was closed, or the stirring of a hope you tried to bury. His message may be short, simple, even vague, but the weight it carries is not. And in that moment, your first instinct may be to respond immediately, not because you're certain, but because your heart remembers. But this is where wisdom must interrupt emotion. You must not react, because reaction is often rooted in need or nostalgia. Instead, you must respond, and that response should come only after you've made space for truth. The space between his silence and his return holds meaning. Silence is a choice, so is reappearing. The danger is that when someone re-enters your life, you might be tempted to greet their presence as if it cancels out their absence. It doesn't. The silence meant something, and so does the timing of his return. So you must ask yourself with clarity and courage what has changed, because if nothing has changed, nothing new can be built. This is not about bitterness or keeping score. It's about discernment, about growth, about refusing to walk back into cycles that drained you the first time around. And make no mistake, cycles always disguise themselves as second chances until you look closely. If his message holds no evidence of reflection, so ask carefully, without desperation, what has changed. What does this man's return require of you, and is it worth it? Does it align with your values, your direction, your peace? You must measure these things not by emotion, but by discernment. There's no reward in responding to a message it leads you away from your purpose. And if you don't know the answer immediately, wait. Silence is not weakness. It is wisdom. It gives space for clarity to emerge. Because you deserve to know, before you take a single step forward, that something real has changed, and it's not just another cycle disguised as a second chance. Certainly, below is a 600-word expansion of keynotes 1 and 3. Don't react. Respond. Ask yourself what has changed, and guard your heart above all else. Written as a single, seamless reflection without headings, in a spiritually grounded and emotionally intelligent tone inspired by Derek Prince's teaching style. When he reaches out after silence, there is a quiet tension that arises within you. It can feel like the reopening of a chapter you thought was closed, or the stirring of a hope you tried to bury. His message may be short, simple, even vague, but the weight it carries is not. And in that moment, your first instinct may be to respond immediately, not because you're certain, but because your heart remembers. But this is where wisdom must interrupt emotion. You must not react, because reaction is often rooted in need or nostalgia. Instead, you must respond, and that response should come only after you've made space for truth. The space between his silence and his return holds meaning. Silence is a choice. So is reappearing. The danger is that when someone re-enters your life, you might be tempted to greet their presence as if it cancels out their absence. It doesn't. The silence meant something, and so does the timing of his return. So you must ask yourself with clarity and courage what has changed. Because if nothing has changed, nothing new can be built. This is not about bitterness or keeping score. It's about discernment, about growth, about refusing to walk back into cycles that drained you the first time around. And make no mistake, cycles always disguise themselves as second chances until you look closely. If his message holds no evidence of reflection, no signs of growth, no repentance or acknowledgement of the silence, then what is it offering you besides confusion? A man who is truly changed won't just reach out. He will come with clarity, not games. He will come with accountability, not avoidance. He will speak with intention, not vagueness. So if what's before you looks the same as what broke you, your answer should not be based on hope alone. It should be based on wisdom. But even with wisdom, even after reflection, you must take one more step. You must guard your heart. Guarding your heart does not mean closing yourself off. It means knowing the value of what's within you. It means not giving emotional access to someone who hasn't shown they know how to steward it. Your heart is not an experiment. It's not a waiting room for someone's delayed maturity. It is sacred ground. And just because someone knocks on the door does not mean you are obligated to let them in. It's easy to mistake familiarity for trust. Just because he once knew you well doesn't mean he knows who you are now. And if he left during a season when you were asking for more respect, more clarity, more love, then his return must meet that same standard, not a lower one. Guarding your heart means being honest with yourself about the patterns you've accepted in the past and refusing to repeat them out of loneliness. It means letting peace, not pressure, guide your decisions. You are not here to prove your worth to someone who once treated you as optional. You are not here to chase closure through conversations that lead to deeper confusion. You are here to protect what God has built within you, the healing, the identity, the strength. So if a door is to be reopened, it must be done with caution, with prayer, and with full awareness of what lies on the other side. Respond from a place of stillness. Ask yourself hard questions. Protect your peace. And above all, do not offer your heart where honor is absent. Let him reach out. Let your reply be the fruit of discernment, not the residue of longing. That is how you walk in wisdom. That is how you walk in strength. Is a 600-word seamless reflection that expands on keynotes 1-4. Don't react. Respond. Ask yourself what has changed. Guard your heart above all else and discern the spirit behind the reach. The style remains grounded, discerning, and spiritually mature without headings or direct references to Derek Prince. When someone who once went silent suddenly reaches out, it's natural for a flood of emotion to rise within you. There's the echo of their absence, the unanswered questions, and the flicker of possibility that maybe, just maybe, this time will be different. That moment can be disorienting. You feel torn between memory and maturity, between desire and discernment. And it is here, in this vulnerable intersection, that you must pause. Your first impulse may be to react quickly, emotionally, with your heart leading the way. But wisdom calls for more. It calls for response, not reaction. A reaction is automatic, driven by what you feel in the moment. A response is intentional, driven by what you know to be true. Give yourself the time to respond, not to him, but first to yourself. Sit with your feelings. Let them surface, and then let them settle. Do not give your voice to a situation until your spirit has spoken first. Once the emotions quiet, ask yourself the harder question: what has changed? His return may feel significant, but significance without substance is just sentiment. Why now? What brought him back? Is he returning because he has reflected, grown, and truly seen the error of his ways, or is he simply seeking comfort, access, or distraction? Silence was a decision, so was this message. Your response must be measured against whether any real transformation has taken place, both in him and in you. Has he acknowledged the absence? Has he offered clarity? Or is he hoping to pick up where things left off without accountability? You cannot afford to rewrite the same chapter with the same ink. If his return looks like a repeat of the past, it is not restoration, it's repetition. And no matter how sincere he may seem, your heart must be protected in this process. Guarding your heart does not mean hardening it. It means stewarding it wisely. It means not handing over your emotional energy to someone who has not earned back the right to hold it. Your heart is not a landing place for temporary visits. It is not a space to be entered casually. If he walked away without explanation, you have every right to expect one before you welcome him back. Love is generous, but wisdom is guarded. You must remember how far you've come since the silence began. You've grown. You've revealed parts of yourself in the absence of answers. That progress is worth protecting. If someone's return threatens your peace more than it restores your clarity, then it's not of God. And that leads to a deeper form of discernment. You must look beyond the words and the timing and ask yourself, what spirit is behind this message? Not every voice is divine. Not every return is sent from heaven. Some are distractions dressed in sentimentality. Some are temptations sent to see if you'll return to what God already freed you from. You must ask yourself, does this contact bring peace or confusion? Does it bring alignment or emotional chaos? The Spirit of God does not operate in manipulation, ambiguity, or emotional instability. If what he brings into your life now does not reflect the character of peace, consistency, and truth, then you are not obligated to receive it. Godly reconnection carries the fragrance of purpose, not pressure. Amy